You know that feeling when you want to just get something, really dive in and understand it quickly without waiting through tons of stuff?
Yeah, get straight to the core insights.
Exactly. That's what
Hmm.
we do here. And today, well, we've got a really interesting source text. It's called Walking on Water, a daily journey of faith.
Hmm. And it takes that, really famous biblical story, Jesus, Peter, walking on the actual water, and uses it as, well, a metaphor, a way to think about life.
Right. And look, while the story itself is religious, our focus today isn't really theology. We're diving into the ideas in this text. Ideas about faith, sure, but also about focus, distraction.
How we handle getting overwhelmed. Things that, frankly, apply to pretty much anyone.
That's the plan. To see what resonates, what kind of aha moments we might find, whatever your background. So our mission, unpack this text, see how its metaphors connect to just daily life.
Okay, so let's start where the story does. Peter sees Jesus on the water, and he asks, can I come out there too? And Jesus just says one word,
Yeah.
come.
Simple, right. But the text really digs into that moment. Peter's asking for something extraordinary, and Jesus' response is so direct.
It highlights this idea of stepping out of the boat,
Yeah.
stepping away from what's normal, what feels safe, maybe.
Yeah, the text actually says that choosing to follow Jesus is like stepping out of the boat and walking on water. It presents it as, well, not the easy path, not the obvious one.
Definitely not the safe bet. It's framed as this pretty radical move into something unknown, challenging even.
And the text connects a pretty big outcome to that first step, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that taking that leap, that willingness to go beyond the, let's say, natural limits, can lead somewhere specific. It says it leads to a life lived above the waves of sin, above the tides of temptation, above the storms of the world.
Wow, that's powerful imagery, rising above the stuff that usually pulls us down.
So it starts with that decision, that step. But then, okay, how do you stay on the water, metaphorically speaking?
Right, and this is where the text brings in the idea of focus. Intense focus, really. Keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus is presented as the absolute key.
Mm-hmm. And walking on water spiritually, according to this text, isn't some vague concept. It describes it pretty clearly.
How so?
Well, it lists things like faithfulness, self-denial, which is tough guarding your thoughts, being kind, doing the right thing,
Okay.
having this sort of overflowing love, and interestingly, avoiding complaining.
Avoiding complaining, that's specific. It's contrasted with chasing what the world chases.
Exactly. That constant wanting more, comparing, feeling like you're lacking something. Instead, the text points towards contentment, humility, a contrite spirit, it says, and gratitude.
And it ties all of that back to where your attention is.
Directly. Where you put your focus
Yeah.
determines whether you're, walking on water or getting caught up in those other pursuits.
Which inevitably brings us to the storm. Because the text is clear, the storm doesn't just stop.
Right. Life happens. Even with faith, even with focus, distractions pop up, challenges arise. And that's the turning point for Peter in the story, isn't it?
It is. He's doing it. He's walking on water, but then he looks away from Jesus.
He notices the wind, the waves, the chaos around him. The text mentions thunder, lightning too. He shifts his focus.
And that feels incredibly relatable. We start something with good intentions, and then life, distractions.
Yeah. And the text lists some modern day storms, as it calls them. Things like wanting the new car, the bigger house, the better job.
Or seeing someone else's promotion, their perceived success.
Right. Envy, comparison, even things like lust, it mentions, these everyday things that pull our gaze away.
So the consequence in the story is literal Peter starts to sink. How does the text translate that metaphorically?
It connects sinking to getting dragged down by those negative emotions that often follow distraction. Jealousy, pride, lust again, insecurity, murmuring, that complaining thing again.
Murmuring, okay, like a constant undercurrent of dissatisfaction.
Yeah. It calls it a worldly weight that just pulls you down, overwhelming that spiritual buoyancy, if you like.
It's a vivid picture. But crucially, Peter sinking isn't the end of the story. And the text really emphasizes this part.
Absolutely. He doesn't just keep sinking. He realizes what's happening.
And he does something vital.
He cries out, "Lord, save me," that call for help. And Jesus' response is immediate. He reaches out, catches him.
That moment of grace, right. Being lifted up even after faltering.
Exactly. And the text makes a really sharp point about this realization. It says, and this bit really stood out to me, many sink slowly, quietly, without realizing.
How does it explain that?
It says, They accept compromise, justify sin, normalize discontentment. Basically, they get used to sinking, bit by bit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But Peter realized. He knew he couldn't survive the storm without Jesus. He didn't wait until he was underwater. He cried out quickly, so must we.
That immediacy. Don't wait until you're completely submerged. Recognize it and call out. Fast.
Yeah, don't just accept it or try to rationalize it away. Acknowledge you're struggling and ask for that help.
Which leads to another key idea in the text. This isn't a one and done thing, is it? This whole walking on water business.
Not at all. It stresses that it's a daily journey, a constant commitment from when you wake up till you go to sleep.
It says something like, not a Sunday only kind of faith.
Precisely. It's about consistently, actively choosing Jesus, as the text puts it, over all the other thoughts, desires, and distractions that inevitably come up every single day.
And it gets specific again, right? About those daily choices.
Very specific. Things like choosing purity, choosing love, choosing contentment, actively refusing to compare, refusing to complain, refusing to covet, refusing pride. It's presented as a series of conscious refusals and choices.
That sounds demanding. Constant vigilance.
It does. And the text is realistic about it. It basically says you will sink sometimes. You'll lose focus. It's going to happen.
But the solution remains the same.
Exactly the same. Don't panic. Don't pretend. Just call out. The text puts it so simply. Just call out, Jesus, save me. And he will.
And then what?
He will take you by the hand, lift you up, and walk beside you. There's that image of support again. You're not left to flounder.
So if we try to boil it down, the essence of this walking on water metaphor, according to this text anyway, it's less about achieving perfection.
Oh, much less. It's really not about being perfect at all. It's about being focused.
Focused. And maybe real, honest about when you're struggling.
Yes, that honesty seems crucial. The text sums it up nicely near the end. Walking on water isn't about being perfect. It's about being focused. It's about being real.
What was the last part?
It's about fixing your eyes on Jesus again and again and again. That constant refocusing.
Okay. So recapping this whole deep dive, we started with that initial, maybe scary step of faith, like Peter stepping out of the boat.
Then the absolute necessity of keeping your focus sharp because distractions, the storms, are always there.
And acknowledging that, yeah, sometimes we do get distracted, we lose our footing, we start to sink.
But the crucial bit is recognizing it quickly and calling out for help,
Yeah.
not just letting ourselves go under slowly.
And finally, understanding this isn't just a one-off event, but a daily, moment-by-moment practice of choosing where to put our attention.
Right.
Refocusing again and again. Thinking about it in just everyday terms. Everyone has storms, right? Things that stress us out, pull our focus, make us feel like we're sinking a bit.
Absolutely. Work pressure, family stuff, worries about the future, comparing ourselves on social media. The list is long.
So maybe the final thought for anyone listening is, what are your storms? What are those things that tend to pull your focus away from what really matters to you?
Yeah, and when you feel that happening, when you feel like you're starting to, metaphorically sink, what does calling out or refocusing look like for you in that moment?
It doesn't have to be exactly like Peter's story, obviously, but the principle.
Yeah.
Recognizing the drift and intentionally bringing your focus back.
It's definitely a compelling framework from this text, offering a way to think about navigating those inevitable difficulties and trying to stay centered. Food for thought, perhaps.